Welcome to our daily reflection for Christmas. Merry Christmas. It's hard to believe it's December 25th. So exciting and what a joy. And the church gives us beautiful readings for Christmas morning. You know, we get different readings for the vigil, and then later on, for the later Christmas masses, there's some different readings. But for the morning mass, we have a reading from the Gospel of John. And he gives us this great, beautiful vision that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And of course, he has his opening line, which echoes the very beginning of the Bible and the very beginning of all of creation. Within the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then we find out that that Word, the Word of God, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, becomes incarnate on Christmas morn. And that's why this day is so special and such a day of joy, because this day changes all of history. In fact, our calendars are marked by this day. We say that it's, 2023. We're getting close to 2024, which is hard to believe. And what do we mean by 2023? Well, the whole world marks the calendar now by the year 2023, because it's been 2023 years since this morning, since the birth of Jesus Christ. And it really was the change and the pivotal moment in all of human history, that God became man. And so I love the readings today, and so let me just kind of give a brief overview of some things to listen for as we go to Christmas morning Mass or we reflect in our morning meditation on these readings. And the first reading is from Isaiah 52. And Isaiah 52, and it begins in verse 7, is a theme of great joy. In fact, it's where we get the word gospel, good news. And we hear how beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him who brings good news, good tidings, gospel, literally. And what is the message of the gospel? What is the message of the good news? Well, the message that will be declared to Jerusalem and to Zion is, behold, your God reigns. That's the message. Behold, your God reigns. Or sometimes it's translated, behold, your God is king. And of course, that's so important to our story here at Christmas, because Jesus is born in the humble town of Bethlehem. And why is Bethlehem significant? Because it was the hometown of King David. And Jesus will be born of the line of David. That's the point of that long genealogy that we heard in the Christmas Vigil Mass, of Jesus born from all these different descendants that go back to David. And so the idea is that Jesus is born of the royal dynastic line of David. He's born to be king, and he will be the king. He will be the ruler that the world looks for. He will be just and selfless, wise and righteous. And so we look for the coming of the Messiah, the king of the line of David. And so this good news in the prophet Isaiah is, go and tell the gospel. And what is the gospel? That God reigns. And so it's interesting, in the latter part of Isaiah, in the prophecies, you move from focusing in the first half of Isaiah for a king born of the line of David to, in the second half of Isaiah, it's looking to God as being king. And the irony is, because of exile and the overthrow of the dynastic house of David, Israel's hope shifts to, maybe David and his line is dead. Maybe the Davidic king isn't going to come, but we hope that God's going to come and reign. And we see both those things come together in Jesus Christ, because he is the Son of God, he is God, and he's the Son born in the flesh, born of the Virgin Mary, of the house of David. He is also of the line of David. And so both things are true. And both these hopes come together in Jesus Christ. And then finally, as we listen to Isaiah 52, it talks about breaking out into song, because this is such joyous good news, this great promise being realized. You have to sing. And I love the Old Testament that's full of singing. Of course, one of the largest books is the Psalms, with 150 songs. And what is most particular about Christmas and all the liturgies that we go to for a Christmas Mass is the singing, the incredible Christmas carols, right? And those songs are the joy of knowing what God has done for us, that he has come down from heaven and entered into our world to save us. And so only, as a great poet once said, only the lover sings. And the idea of singing and songs is a heart that's filled with joy and love. And so today, let us be filled with that joy and that love, and let us sing with joy to the Lord. That's really what the liturgy is calling us to do. And of course, we get that in Psalm 98 today. All the ends of the earth have seen the saving power of God. And so we're going to get a lot of Psalms during Christmas from the 90s. And that is not the 1990s, but the Psalms in the 90s, because they rejoice that God will become king and all the world will know that. And that's really the theme of all the Psalms in the 90s. And we get that with Psalm 98. We're going to hear Psalm 94, 96, and it's going to be a lot of those Psalms during the Christmas octave. And don't forget, Christmas isn't just a day, it's a season. And we're going to begin that season with the Christmas octave. 8 days the church will have for rejoicing and being filled with joy on this mystery of Christmas. The second reading today will be from the letter of Paul to I believe Paul, but at least it's the letter to the Hebrews. And it talks about this great declaration from God, "You are my son, this day I have begotten you." And we realize that the king is literally the Son of God, Jesus Christ, who will call God his Father. And so we have that element. And then when we get to the gospel, as I mentioned already, the Gospel of John, the Word becomes flesh, the idea of light entering into darkness. And of course, this is the winter solstice, where we go from the dark, every day getting darker and darker, and then the birth of Christ, and now every day gets a little lighter and a little lighter, because Jesus is that hinge in the history of the world. And now with Christ, the light of Christ enters into our hearts and into our world, bringing more and more and more light. And of course, we know that Christ's coming will bring more and more light until his second coming, in which all darkness and all sadness and all death will ultimately be cast away. And it all begins with this turning point with Jesus coming. And, we hear that great echo of Jesus coming into the world, and John saying, "And the Word became flesh," and literally tabernacled among us is the Greek word he uses, dwelt among us. And so we ponder this great mystery of Christmas, the mystery of the incarnation, that God becomes man. And that should give us such consolation and such joy that our hearts are filled with love and can't help but sing. And just as a contrast, if you read the Quran that Muslims have, and I don't mean this as a dig on Islam, but it's a difference between Islam and Christianity. There's no songs in all of the Quran. But in Christianity, there's a lot of songs. And as we hear the gospel in John here, but especially as we hear the infancy birth in Luke, chapter 1 and 2, the angels are singing in heaven, and they're calling us to sing. And so today, let's sing. Let's sing from the bottom of our hearts out of love and out of joy, because joy should be our resolution today, because what God has done for us. May the Lord bless and give you a very Merry Christmas. Take care.
This daily reflection is brought to you thanks to the generous support of the Mission Circle. Join the Mission Circle to help Catholics worldwide understand, live, and share their faith. Sign up at missioncircle.org today.